Dr. David Ricketts is, for the past decade, Dr. Ricketts has taught the principles of disruption. He helps leaders and frontline innovators understand how to develop disruptive innovation in their organizations. His innovations have been featured in ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox News, as well as ESPN and Smithsonian. David is an award-winning academic researcher. He's held appointments at MIT, Harvard University, Carnegie Mellon, and North Carolina State University. He runs the innovation summits at Harvard, and although he's an academic, and some people are, David is funny. So you're gonna see, it didn't say that in the intro, but you have to know that he is. Let's have a hand for my friend David Ricketts.
Every kid knows that there's a little bit of ringing. Let me get that down a little bit. Every kid knows that a castle without a dragon is worse than no castle at all. This was the insight that the executives at Legos learned just a few years before they experienced the largest growth of any toy manufacturer and became the #1 manufacturer of toys in 2015. Legos started back in the 60s with this. We'll see if the slides are on. And I continue to hit forward. There we go. Oh no, they see what it is. There we go. Now, what you probably don't know about Legos is Legos are a highly engineered product. The spacing between those little circles and the holes they go into is 1/4 of the diameter of a human hair. In 1960s, Legos came out and they introduced this idea of we can build ourselves, and kids loved the idea. And Lego said, we're on to something here. And they said, are we going to jump back up? Just checking out here. The lights went off. Norm, do we have a major outage? I can move on. All right, let's move on and skip to story 2. How many of you have seen $20 billion? I brought it here. It's underneath here. Did you know it would fit? Do you know it would fit? By the way, we're coming back to Legos. Don't worry about it. You recognize this? In 2008, Nintendo sold $20 billion worth of the Nintendo Wii. All because of this amazing technology? No. Did you know Nintendo didn't even invent this? The Nintendo Wii remote was invented by a gentleman named Tom Quinn. He was a private pilot, and he just loved the idea of how airplanes used something called a gyroscope to control the screens as he flew. And he had this idea that he was going to use the same control of motion that airplanes use to create a handheld mouse. Now, he got together with all of his business buddies, and he said, well, where's the best place for us to sell this? And this was in the late 90s. And they realized that one of the best places for a brand new handheld control would be the portable game console industry. Now, I want you to take a second. Imagine you've got a brand new technology, brilliant idea. You're going to break into one of the top businesses in the world, the game console business. Who would you go and pitch your idea to? What's that? You'd go to who? Why would you go to them? Nintendo was third, not even in the market. Where would you take your brand new invention? Sony. Sony would be a good one. #1 in the market, PlayStation. It's exactly what Tom did. Tom flew over to Japan, got a meeting with Sony, with Ken Kutaragi. the father of PlayStation, one of the most famous people in game consoles in the world, and he pitched them this amazing new technology. And do you know what Sony said? Not interested. Okay. So you went to number one. They said, we're not interested. Well, what would you do next? Go to number two. Okay. So he called up Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer had taken over from Bill Gates at Microsoft, and he thought it was a cool idea. And he set up an appointment for Tom to go to Redmond, Washington, to pitch this idea to the engineering team. Now, who better to understand the amazing value of this innovation, this technology, than engineers? Tom flies up to Redmond, Washington, gets in a conference room full of engineers, and starts talking about this amazing new technology he has. And do you know what Microsoft's response was? Now, I wasn't there, so this is a bit of paraphrasing. That's a stupid idea. They didn't even let him finish his talk before they told him this was the dumbest idea they had ever heard. He actually ran out before he even finished. Now, what would you do after this? I'd go home. But Tom had a little bit more in him. So Tom did say, okay, let's go talk to the third in the market. Some of you guessed the names, the third in the market, Nintendo. Now, I want to put everything in perspective for you. Sony was the Samsung of the day. Microsoft was the Apple of the day. And Nintendo, do you know who they were? Thank you. You were here last year, you may know that. BlackBerry. Those who said I would go to Nintendo, how many of you would go pitch your new phone idea today to BlackBerry? That is why Tom did not go to Nintendo. That is where Nintendo was. They were where BlackBerry is today. Nintendo had started out as a game company, playing cards actually. And in the mid-'80s, Shigeru Miyamoto invented two games, Donkey Kong and Mario Brothers. How many of you know Mario Brothers? All right, this is pretty good. So I grew up in the 80s with my two brothers, and apparently if you polled all of us, we were more likely to recognize Mario than Mickey Mouse. Miyamoto was called the Walt Disney of video games. What Tom didn't know was what was happening at Nintendo before his talk. Shigeru Miyamoto and all of his team had been trying to figure out how do we get back into the game console business. They had been on number one in the 1980s, but had dropped far behind as Sony and Microsoft had gone ahead mainly with technology. Nintendo was a game company, not a technology company. How were they going to compete? And that's when Miyamoto and his team started asking some very important questions. The first one was, who are our non-customers? Now, what's a non-customer? A non-customer isn't someone who buys the product from somebody else. A non-customer is somebody who doesn't buy the product. I want you to think about all of your customers and your clients. Those are your customers. Your non-customers are those people that don't buy those services. Who are they? Who are they in your market? Well, for games, back in the 80s and 90s, who didn't play video games? Well, my dad never played a video game. When I was really little, I didn't play. My mom was too busy with three of us growing up to play video games. But that's it, isn't it? What would happen if mom played a video game? Everybody knows the answer. If mom plays, does dad play? Yeah. Do the kids play? If you can get mom to play a video game, the entire family will play. An entirely new market will come about. Shigeru Miyamoto and his team asked a very simple question. What if mom would play video games? But how? Tom walked into the Nintendo offices, and he did the same pitch he did before about this amazing technology and what it could do. And then as he was waving it around, Nintendo didn't see technology, they didn't see innovation, They didn't see a little stick in the hand. They saw a bowling ball. Miyamoto and his team had realized that was how Mom would play video games. Within 1 year, Nintendo had gone from a distant third to number one. Imagine February 2018 when BlackBerry introduces a phone that becomes number one over Apple and Samsung. That is exactly what Nintendo did. They did it with a technology that wasn't even their own. The $20 billion idea that came out of what they had to offer was simply this. What if Mom would play video games? Imagine the possibilities. This simple question, what if, takes our minds to a place of vision. And this is really where innovation lies, is in the vision we have for the future that no one else can see. When people sit down and start talking about their great new ideas, I always ask, where's the vision? What is it that you see that others don't see? What is the world looking like that is going to change our lives? Simply by asking that question, what if? And imagining the possibilities that can come. I'd like to share a few examples, but I'm not sure if our AV's back on yet. Is it? Negative. All right. So, I want to give you one more example. Let's have a little fun. Not that bag. All right, this is going to be a little cheesy, but it'll get better. You guys need a light bulb? You guys can't see, but the lights are off up there. So I want to talk about this vision again. Who invented the light bulb? We have an Edison here. Most people think Edison invented the light bulb. Turns out Swan in Europe was the first to patent, and the actual patent commissioner in the US awarded the patent to Sawyer and Mann as priority over Edison. The man we think about as the quintessential innovator didn't even invent the light bulb. So why do we remember Edison? Why don't we remember Swan? Why don't we remember Sawyer and Mann? Why do we remember Edison as the great innovator? Con Ed, because he made a big company. Light bulb, something happened, big company. Put his name on it, that was pretty good. What Edison was focused on was not in building a light bulb. He didn't care, well, he did care that he was the inventor, but that I think was more ego than anything else. Edison had a vision. He wasn't thinking about how to make a light bulb. He was asking the question, what would the world look like if we had light at night? What if you could light up Manhattan at night? Imagine the possibilities that could come out of that. What separated Edison from all of his competitors was the vision of lighting up the city. If you look at all of the innovations that Edison brought forward, all of them was a vision he had for people and for society. And I'll leave you with one last example. We were up at a conference in Boston on smart cities, and Miguel Guillermo, who's the CTO of New York City. By the way, New York City has an $82.2 billion budget, so I want to be the CTO of that place. That's pretty awesome. And so everybody else was talking about smart street lights and smart sensors, and Miguel, all he could talk about was a guy named Ahmed trying to get his halal food cart from uptown to downtown. And he was focusing on his journey through his day to get his food truck downtown. How could he build a better city for him? Miguel was one of the few chief technology officers of the cities that had a vision for what life would be like without the technology. He looked at it only from what the people needed. Vision is what drives innovation. Vision is what is going to change your next great idea. And just a very simple way to do it is just to ask the question, what if? And imagine the possibilities that might come. Thank you.